Breaking news at 5 o'clock. We're learning new details about the deadly officer-involved shooting inside Austin East High School on Monday, the student who died, and what we are learning from the TBI's early report released in the last hour.
Plus, this comes as people push for an end to gun violence. The calls for change happening right now and how you can help end the violence.
And a Tennessee woman says she suffered serious side effects from the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. She details the scary moment she knew something was wrong and why doctors say people with the shot shouldn't panic.
They want that light rain jacket. Showers moving into the valley in East Tennessee right now, but not for long. We've got your cooler and drier forecast just ahead.
10 News is brought to you in high definition exclusively by Toyota and Lexus of Knoxville. WBIR 10 News starts now.
We begin with breaking news. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation is now identifying the student who died after a shooting at Austin East High School on Monday. Agents say 17-year-old Anthony Thompson Jr. died after being shot by law enforcement. A police officer was also shot in the leg. Now, the TBI is releasing new details about how that shooting unfolded.
10 News reporter Cole Sullivan joining us now with those details. And Cole, we're learning it was not the student who shot the police officer.
Robin, that's correct. The TBI says the bullet that hit school resource officer Adam Wilson did not come from Thompson's gun. The TBI says Knoxville police officers went into the school bathroom after a report of a student possibly armed with a gun. Then investigators say there was a struggle and Thompson's gun was fired. After that, agents say law enforcement fired twice. The TBI says preliminary examinations indicate the bullet that struck the KPD officer was not fired from the student's handgun. That means he was shot by his own gun or the gun of another responding officer. Knoxville police say Officer Wilson is still in the hospital. He did have surgery after being shot in the leg. The TBI says it is still investigating that shooting, and Robin and John, the TBI says it will review body camera video as part of that investigation.
Cole Sullivan on the update. Right now, people are protesting the recent gun violence outside the Knox County Board of Education meeting. Again, 17-year-old Anthony Thompson Jr. is the fifth Austin East student to be killed this year so far, and 4 other teenagers died in recent months after other shootings across Knoxville, and now many say the gun violence has to stop.
10 News reporter Amelia Young is live at that protest outside the Board of Education meeting tonight. Amelia.
Yeah, well, out here outside the city county building, just a handful of people have showed up right now. This protest is slated to begin right at 5 o'clock, and we're expecting a larger crowd to come here as the school board is meeting inside. This is the 3rd day in a row that people have met in the city to raise their voices and concerns about recent violence here in the city. I saw signs earlier saying schools need to remain a safe place, and a lot of people here are wanting the safety of these kids to be a priority. We'll be waiting during this board meeting to hear if they'll be addressing this week's events at any point in time. Security measures have already been put in place since earlier violence this year, like upgrading camera systems and only allowing clear bags at Austin East. Superintendent Bob Thomas has said in the past that he's considering putting metal detectors in the school, and we'll be waiting to hear if they're addressing that tonight. The school board will also be addressing the mask policy for the upcoming school year, of whether or not they'll consider what's put in place right now. But we'll continue to update you throughout the night, and I'll have the latest at 10 and 11 o'clock.
Amelia Young live in downtown Knoxville for us. Amelia, thank you.
It could take anywhere from 2 days to forever.
When will the public see officer body cam video, and what events led up to the death of a student during an officer-involved shooting Monday at Austin East High School? Those are just some unanswered questions we are all asking, but experts caution these cases often take time, and 10 News reporter Grace King walks us through what new information we may learn next.
In Knoxville, the TBI always takes the lead in officer-involved shootings, but other agencies can be involved. Attorney Dennis Francis, who has extensive history litigating law enforcement shootings, says the process typically starts by collecting evidence and taking statements. In this case, we know TBI is already in the process of interviewing witnesses. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosive traces firearms and recovers shell casings. They typically don't get involved in local shootings, but did in this one.
Was that a stolen weapon? Where did it come from? How did it get into his or her possession?
Autopsies from the medical examiner's office are pretty standard in fatal shootings, but take time to complete.
The idea is not how fast you do it, but it's how well you do it, and are the interests of justice served by this investigation.
In this particular case, Francis says the most useful information will likely come from a body camera.
The use of body cams has changed the whole equation on force cases, because now everybody, whether they are the participant, the police officer, or the citizen accused, everything's on video.
In 2020, it took the TBI roughly 3 months to turn over an officer-involved shooting investigation to the Knox County DA's office. But there's no standard.
There's no shot clock. By that I mean there's nobody says you've got to get this report in or got to get this done within 30 days or 60 days.
I'm Grace King reporting.
Again, a reminder, Knoxville police did step away from the investigation when the TBI stepped in. We did reach out to leaders in that agency about the typical timeline for investigating officer-involved shootings. The TBI wasn't able to offer a specific answer by news time. Officer Adam Wilson is still recovering in the hospital after he was shot in the leg at Austin East Monday. The 20-year veteran was serving as the school resource officer for Austin East. It's a role he has served in for several years in different Knox County schools. He also served as a firearms instructor for the police department. In that position, he spoke to 10 News 5 years ago about kids and gun safety.
Carrying a firearm comes with a huge responsibility. That's just it. You have to be responsible.
Officer Wilson also has been featured on the Discovery show Homicide Hunters. The star of that TV program is sending his condolences to his friend, again recovering in the hospital. We will show you more about the background of Officer Wilson tonight at 6. Our coverage continues online. There you can see the latest details in the shooting investigation from the TBI. You can hear from community members about the need to heal and see the very latest in the investigation into 4 other shooting deaths in East Knoxville this year. Also, resources you can use to get help and counseling.
Well, let's turn our attention now to the forecast. You may want to grab an umbrella, rain jacket, because you see the green on the radar. Rain is heading toward East Tennessee.
Chief Meteorologist Todd Howell joins us. It's a pretty light band for now, Todd.
Yeah, not expecting anything overly heavy. We are seeing some scattered light rains making the way quickly off the plateau into the Central Valley and continue to make their way to the east. A little bit heavier showers across southeast Tennessee to our south and north Georgia. But again, the light green, the light to dark green, indicative of light precipitation on our legend right there. So nothing too heavy. Skywatch 10 radar over the last couple of hours shows the showers moving off the plateau and into the valley as we stop it right there. Tellico Plains working its way up toward Maryville, Alcoa Highway to Knoxville, and up toward Maynardville and Union County, Tazewell and Claiborne County, and starting to taper off on the plateau. We'll still have a chance for some scattered light rain showers through about mid-evening, then decreasing clouds, drier and cooler for your Thursday. About 10 degrees cooler tomorrow than what we saw today. We'll pick it up there and take a look at that extended outlook coming up.
Sounds good, Todd. Thank you.
A Middle Tennessee woman says she is one of the 6 women who had a severe reaction to the now paused Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine. That 29-year-old woman who asked not to be identified says she had a rare and severe type of blood clot. But tonight, she is telling other women to not let this news stop them from getting vaccinated.
2 weeks after receiving the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, this 29-year-old Nashville woman was in the ICU.
My leg was so swollen that I couldn't really walk. So at that time, they found the DVTs or the clots in my legs.
She says the symptoms started 1 week after her shot, uncontrollable shaking and trouble breathing. A week after that, she became one of 6 women nationwide to be diagnosed with blood clots after a dose of the J&J vaccine.
I'm not sure about long-term issues yet. You know, there might be some conversation around, you know, when I get pregnant, I might have a larger risk for clots, but I think all of this is still really new.
She says it's important women know the signs, but doesn't want her experience to create skepticism when it comes to the vaccine.
And that's my biggest fear, is that people will be scared to get other vaccines. No regrets. I think that's why they call it medical practice, is, you know, we're always practicing and learning, and you know, I'm grateful that I'm young and healthy.
That woman says the only possible correlation to the blood clots is that she is on an estrogen-based birth control. Now, out of the more than 6 million people who have received the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, only 6 have developed the blood clots, and that means the chances of developing this rare condition is less than 1 in a million. Today, a committee of experts advising the CDC weighed in on the pause of the shot, while investigators look for a possible link in a handful of these cases.
We strongly support ensuring vaccinee awareness of the signs and symptoms of this very rare event.
While it is popular, the single-shot Johnson & Johnson makes up just a fraction of the U.S. vaccine supply. The far more common Pfizer and Moderna vaccines are in large supply all across every state. Coming up at 5:30, we answer one of the biggest questions about the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. We verify if you're more likely to get a blood clot from the shot or from the virus itself. That's coming up at 5:30.
Developing right now, 1 person has died and 12 more are missing after a lift boat capsized off the coast of Louisiana. That 129-foot commercial lift boat capsized yesterday afternoon, and so far the U.S. Coast Guard has rescued 6 crew members. Search and rescue operations are underway despite storms and rough conditions in that area. Today, veterans are getting benefits from the VA and should see some stimulus money show up in their bank accounts soon. The IRS says it'll likely be directly deposited in those accounts. Those who want to see the status of their stimulus check can use the Get My Payment tool on the IRS website. Some families with kids could start seeing that money from the new monthly tax credit soon as well. The head of the IRS said it'll be tough, but they can expect to meet their July 1st deadline, and that means lower income families could start receiving monthly payments of up to $300 per child as soon as this summer.
Well, it can happen in a matter of seconds. A loved one suffering from Alzheimer's or dementia just wandering off unsupervised. Well, that is the reality for more than 100,000 Tennesseans diagnosed with Alzheimer's. That's why Alzheimer's Tennessee is working with the General Assembly to pass legislation that expands communication for a statewide silver alert. That bill gives the TBI control over training local law enforcement on how to approach an Alzheimer's patient, as well as where to look for them and when to contact the community for help.
The number of people that are affected is just continuing to escalate. And we know that within the next 10 to 15 years, it's just going to be almost unmanageable.
Tennessee is among 26 other states that use silver alerts to find missing adults 18 and older with cognitive impairments. The bill has several votes to clear before becoming law. Coming up, one of the few mask mandates left in Tennessee is about to expire. At 5:30, a look at the changes coming to Sevier County and what fewer masks could mean for that area that thrives on tourism.
Then at 5:45, children dying at the hands of gun violence. We're going to see how leaders across Tennessee are pushing to stop the growing number of shooting deaths and how you can help.
But first, we are just 100 days away from the Summer Olympics. Hear from athletes pushing their limits to make Team USA next.